What's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. This is Constant Sports. I'm your host, Constance. Now, the NCAA tournaments round 1, 2, Sweet 16, and Elite 8 are all done and in the books, and we have our Final Four, which really isn't a surprise if you look at how the season went. Uh, these four teams have pretty much been at the top. So you have South Carolina, who's going to be playing Texas, and then you have UCLA, who's going to be playing UConn. And I like the South Carolina and Texas matchup. I think a lot better than I like the UCLA and the UConn matchup, just because these teams have played a lot already this season. So each team knows how the other moves. So to see how these games will come out, I think will be interesting. UCLA is unstoppable, right? Because you could say because of Lauren Betts, but then the Elite Eight matchup against LSU proved that without Lauren Betts on the floor, her team can still produce points, right? So it's already an issue trying to stop Lauren Betts, but if you get her into foul trouble like LSU does, her other teammates step up and they're raining threes, right? In UConn, obviously they are a very well-rounded, sound team, and Strong in the post is going to have a day. I see these two bigs getting breaks a lot because of the battling that's going to be going on in the post. I do believe that Lauren Betts will get the best of Strong just because it's Lauren Betts. She's still going to get her points, and it's all about if her teammates can also get their points. So, we have our four teams, but let's talk about their journey to the Final Four, right? We'll start with South Carolina. They started the tournament off playing up against Tennessee Tech, and they won that game easy, right? 108-48. It was a smooth game for them. I don't think it was a issue on whether or not South Carolina was going to win that game. The next game was Indiana, where they 64-53. That was a closer game than I think anyone was expecting. Indiana came out and they played hard. They challenged South Carolina dramatically, and it helped South Carolina learn some things about their team, right? Then you have Maryland, South Carolina versus Maryland, where it was 71-67, and that was an amazing, amazing game. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Maryland was gonna pull that game off, just how it was going. Malaysia Fulwiley stepped up in a big, big way. She scored 20 something points in that game. And what she did was she showed Coach Staley that she's ready for more responsibilities and more playing time. And she already gets playing time, right? But she still comes off the bench. But the only way a bench player can continue to get into the game and possibly make their way into that starting lineup is by proving it when your name is called. And that is definitely what she did against Maryland, and also when they played their next game versus Duke. She came in and had a very solid game. A lot of mistakes or a lot of turnovers, so she was pulled out quite a lot and had some long stretches on the bench. But she definitely proved a lot so far this tournament. That Maryland game was every position on the floor had a challenge, and I think it's very rare that South Carolina plays against a team where every position has a challenge and they have to play good defense against every single position, because we all know they play in the SEC, where SEC is a lot more banging of the body, dribbling into the post, into the paint. So to be going up against a team who you definitely had to guard all five positions at all time, I feel like they struggled a little bit, but they definitely came out on top after that. The next game was Duke, which was another close game. They won 54-50. This is another game that South Carolina could have lost. I know all games is games that teams could have lost, but that Duke game, there was something going on with South Carolina. They were making some mistakes that we're not used to seeing them make, and it's definitely there's no way they can play this next game like that. Um, so I do see them. They get a nice little break. I think they get like 4 or 5 days right now to prepare for their Final Four matchup, so they have time to work on those things. Right, fly back home, get some rest, see the family, and then head down to where the Final Four is going to be at. Next team is Texas. Texas had a smooth run through of the rounds. There is just some concern, right? So the first game was against William and Mary, 105-61, right? Props to William and Mary. They had an amazing run this season. They came out and they showed out in the tournament. They gave that game their all. Next they play Illinois, 65-48. This is a good game, but Texas still has to figure some things out. And yes, you want to figure those out with some of like the lower ranking teams, but I don't feel like they've figured it out just yet. After Illinois, they played Tennessee, which I thought this game could have went either way, just because it's two SEC teams going head to head, and you do not know sometimes who's going to win those games, right? Texas came out top, obviously 67-59. I feel like Texas forced Tennessee to get out of who they are, right? Tennessee is a very big team, and there was a lot of times they weren't taking it into the paint. They were trying to do the jump shots or the three-pointers, and it was a close game until the end where Texas started to pull away a little bit, obviously the fouls and stuff like that. So I feel like Texas forced Tennessee to get out of their way of play, and that's what helped them win that game. Next, Texas played TCU. It was 58-47. This game was up and down. A lot of fouls were called in this game. Prince fouled out and had to sit on the bench for like the last, I think it was 3 minutes or so of the game, 3 or 4 minutes of the game. And TCU went down by like 14 points, fought back, got to game within the 4 points, and then they couldn't make their shots in the end, and Texas ended up coming out with the win. It was a hard fought battle for TCU, especially with losing like your big post player. And now having to focus on your smaller guards, on your guards and your less experienced post players. I think they battled really hard, and they gave Texas a really good game. This Texas and South Carolina matchup, I give it to South Carolina just because they're still figuring things out. They've been figuring things out the whole season, but their average points, besides the first round matchup where they scored 105, they haven't scored 70 points in this tournament, right? And the most they scored is 67, right? South Carolina obviously haven't scored a lot. A lot of these games I've noticed have been really strong on defense, and I do think that these ladies are tired. Their bodies are starting to wear down a little bit more than normal. So they're not putting up a lot of points, but South Carolina still was 108, 64, 71, and then 54 in the Elite 8 games. So I give it to South Carolina just because of the history of the two teams and how they battled throughout the season. And to me, Texas is unpredictable. You never know how they're going to start how that first half is going to go. So that's my picks for the matchup between South Carolina and Texas. Next go we have UCLA, who UCLA started off against Southern. It was a breeze, which we all knew that, but shouts out to Southern for making the tournament. That was really awesome to see. Being someone from Louisiana, that was really awesome to see Southern make it to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, lost the game. UCLA won it 84-48. And Southern isn't a very big team, so Lauren Betts was seeing over everybody, man. Kind of like she's always doing. Their next game was against Richmond, where again UCLA scored 84 points to 67. UCLA is a pretty consistent team. You know what you're going to get from them every night. The issue is you can't stop them from getting it. And then they played Ole Miss, which Ole Miss battled. It was a really, really good game. I feel like those Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games was perfection. TCU battled. UCLA ended up winning that game 76-52. It was to me an up and down game. UCLA pretty much led the way, but then Ole Miss started to fight back and come back towards the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. But it's harder to bounce back against a team that's so consistent like UCLA. So UCLA took that one. After that, UCLA for the Elite Eight went up against LSU. UCLA ended up winning that game 72-65. LSU had a game plan coming in, right? Was fouls, wanting to make sure that they put the ball in the post so that they can force Lauren Betts to have to foul them, right? So the post players for LSU are a lot smaller than Lauren Betts, so they can move a lot faster. But Lauren, even though she is she's a taller post, she still can move her feet fairly well. But they did ended up giving her 2 fouls in the first quarter, which she never does. And what hurt LSU was Lauren Betts was out for about a quarter and a half of that game, and LSU failed to put points on the board. I feel like when Lauren Betts went out of the game, they stopped driving into the paint. They stopped passing the ball into the paint. Anissa Morrow or Samaya Smith points mainly came off of offensive rebounds instead of you going into the post, and that is where I think hurt them, because while Lauren Betts was out, UCLA outscored LSU. And now it makes me think, if Lauren Betts was in the game, would UCLA have outscored LSU by, I think it was like 6 points or so, while Lauren Betts was out of the game. And that's just something you cannot do when your game plan starts off so well and then it falls apart after you accomplish the toughest part of that game plan. And LSU could not hit any points, and UCLA capitalized off of it. UCLA was hitting their shots, especially the three-pointers. If you watch LSU games, they're not big three-point shooting teams. They have the games where they hit their threes, but they don't hit them a lot, and they don't take them that much. They're definitely more of a jump shot or a driving team. So once Lauren Betts came in, she was fresh, and she did what Lauren Betts does. And she battled, and she got her team the W. So I want to say shouts out to Anissa Morrow for coming out to LSU and balling and pretty much helping LSU get to the Elite Eight. I do believe that Anissa Morrow is the reason that LSU was in the Elite Eight. She had one hell of a tournament. So can't wait to see what she does when she hits the W. Next team you have UConn. UConn started off the tournament going up against Arkansas State. Easy win, 103 points to 34. So that was a pretty easy win for them. After Arkansas State, they went and played South Dakota State, which was 91 to 57. Um, I don't want that score to fool a lot of people. South Dakota State is a very good team, and they've been a very good team for a few years now, and they've proven themselves every year. Um, so I do believe that if good players, keep going to South Dakota State, they will make it past the first round eventually. I think they'll get a better seeding one year, in a couple years, if not next year, and they're gonna show people who they are. After South Dakota State, UConn played Oklahoma, where they beat Oklahoma 82 to 59. Um, Paige Buckers is having herself a game. Um, she's having herself a season or a career or a tournament, all of that. So that's why I say UConn is very consistent. Everyone has a part to play, and everyone plays their part perfectly. Um, which is they're gonna need it for this Final Four matchup, right? Um, their Elite Eight appearance was against USC, winning 78 to 64. And yes, USC was one of the top teams this whole season, but USC lost Juju, so that kind of changed the dynamics of the team. And Kiki has been doing an amazing job. That whole team has done an amazing job since Juju went down, trying to push forward. But when you're going up against a team like UConn, they can attack your weaknesses, and knowing that your star player, who most of your plays are built around, is no longer there, is very easy for them to make you one-dimensional, right? USC still battled. Um, they still battled, but they were missing that one piece. And that's something that teams who are they're heavy reliant on one player, it hurts them if that player goes down, right? We all know all teams has like that one good player, and then you have good surrounding cast. It's different when that one player is like all time amazing. Is that difference is too much for some teams to overcome, right? So between UCLA and UConn matchup, I do have UCLA taking it, um, just because UCLA, I feel like they want this. They play like they want this. They coach themselves. Corey Close is a very good coach. She has definitely gotten the trust and respect of all of her players. Right? When she calls a timeout and she's on the sideline, they're listening. And when they're on that floor, they're listening to each other. Um, and I feel like obviously this UConn and UCLA game will definitely be more of a battle between the guards because of the fact that you have Paige Buckers and AZ Fudd. Um, that will be the dynamics that we will have to see how this game really goes, because in the post, I'm not really putting anybody up to Lauren Betts to be able to stop her, unless you can get her into foul trouble, and then while she's not in, produce, right? So I have UCLA taking it, which means that my championship teams that I have is South Carolina versus UCLA, which I think will be a game to remember, just because you have South Carolina, who's been here before. Those players have been here before, right? So they're trying to continue, they're trying to make history, right? But then you have UCLA, who hasn't been here before, and they have this amazing team right now that can win it all. It's gonna be a game that I don't even know. Like, I want to say that I believe that UCLA will take the championship, right? just because of the players, but then you can't take away from what South Carolina has done for the past few years, right? For the past years. Um, so I think that'll be a tough one. If those are the two teams that are in the championship game, yeah, it's going to be a hard one. And the country, I believe, will be completely split down the middle on who thinks that who is going to win. Um, so on Friday, starting at 7 Eastern Time, 4 p.m. for myself in Pacific Time, um, the Final Four will begin, and it'll start off with South Carolina and Texas, ending with UCLA and UConn. Um, I think we're in for a ride this weekend, and it's gonna be fun. So please continue to watch these young ladies play the sport that we love. Support them as much as you can. Um, Thank you for watching the channel and supporting me. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about these matchups. Who do you think will make it to the championship game? And who do you think will actually win it all? Um, so yes, thank you. Peace, love, happiness.